What is a strange, but harmless rule your family has? My family always has 2 dogs. You may insult the younger dog as much as you want. But you must never insult the elder dog. We're all incredibly sarcastic and kinda rude to each other. It's how we show love, but to avoid any actual hurt feelings, if anyone ever says the exact phrase, "Stop teasing, it's over," and everyone apologizes. Grew up with this rule, and trust me, kindergarten was a rough awakening when bullies don't bend over backwards at my magic phrase. Overall good way to grow up, goofing around and joking with family, but make sure no one is actually offended when you roast them non-stop over something stupid. If you find the gnome, you hide the gnome. The last slice of birthday cake belongs to the person whose birthday it was made to celebrate. Not strange in and of itself. Strange in that my family had to actively spell it out. Most of the shows we watch are recorded live, and then watched later in the week. Mother cannot control the remote, as she will skip the commercials and go 5 minutes further. Then spend just as long getting back to the correct stop as it would have been to watch the commercials in the first place. No one tells mom that my sister and I didn't buy our graduation photos and just framed the sample photo with the huge watermark. Been 4 years and she hasn't noticed. Don't bother dad while he's eating. I was a stay-at-home dad and did most of the cooking. After dishing up and serving everyone, I'd plate my food just in time for everyone to come back for seconds, which I would dish up for them. After a couple years of eating lukewarm food, and the kids were big enough to dish up their seconds, I made the rule so I could actually have a hot meal. I still enforce this rule. If ever giving someone a ride home, wait for them to get the door to their house open before leaving. This may have been more important when I was growing up, before everyone had a cell phone. My parents did a lot with our church youth group, so there were a lot of events or times after get-togethers where some of them would need rides. And this was to make sure they were home safely and not locked out or anything. My rule for walks. Every duck you see must be confronted about their various love affairs. A lone male duck? Sir, are you aware of where your wife is? I have gotten every person I've walked with in on this joke rule. And in case you're curious, ducks are all having affairs. Squirrels you can only get for tax evasion. And geese are always up for a turf war. You know how most people worship cats? We do that. But for ducks, when there are multiple dessert options after a large family meal, the lime jelly must be included in the options offered to everyone. But nobody may accept the lime jelly. Only my stepdad may have the lime jelly. The strange thing is that this was never a conscious decision we made. And it was never really noticed until I was 17. It was the first time my now partner was invited to a big family meal. After the meal, my grandma told us the dessert options as usual. Then looked to my partner first as he was a guest. He politely asked for lime jelly. For the awkward silence that followed, he might as well have asked if he could eat the cat. Then there was this weird awkward conversation where we had to explain the lime jelly rule, which we'd never consciously thought about before. It ended with my stepdad, for the first time in the 4 years he'd lived with us, deciding to have a different dessert so my partner could have the lime jelly. Americans, I think you call it jello? The smooth wobbly stuff. Not the stuff you put in sandwiches. Edit. 2 most common questions. Why only make 1 portion of jelly? Because only 1 person ever ate it. Why offer it then? This thread is specifically for strange rules after all. No. It doesn't make sense. I think just a combination of habit. There used to be enough for everyone, and manners. Make sure the guest gets first choice. When a guest leaves, you need to walk out to their car with them no matter what the weather. We were taught it's a sign of care and respect for the guests. We have a first date rule. You are not allowed to ask to play with or use any toys, items of your siblings on the first day they receive them. So birthdays and holidays that you get presents, you do not have to share with the others. And if they try, you get to yell first day. If it is a guest's first time attending movie night at my parents' house, the movie is always Pride and Prejudice 2005. How does this happen? Either an invitation is extended phrased as, "Would you like to come over and watch Pride and Prejudice?" or a spontaneous decision is made to watch the movie after everyone has eaten dinner. It's never spontaneous. They always plan it. If someone declines to watch Pride and Prejudice, movie night suddenly becomes board game night. There is no other movie. I wouldn't call it a rule. More of a tradition. Every Christmas Eve. After dinner and the presents etc. My mom, sometimes against our will, turns off the power in the house and makes us all play hide and go seek for at least 30 minutes. Some years we are all into it. Some years we aren't. But I never regret playing afterwards. It's great memories for the smaller folks and it's lots of laughs for the older ones. Overall would recommend. You may not use any tools to open a gift. With one exception. A tool may be used if it was also presented as a gift during the same gift-giving event. Example. Going to get a pocket knife is prohibited. Using a pocket knife you normally carry is prohibited. If you are given a pocket knife as a present, it may be used to open other gifts at that time. There are no rules limiting how presents may be wrapped. Every year, we come together in November so everyone knows who they have to buy a present for. Because most of us are bad at thinking of presents. We always have to make wish lists and you have to buy what's on the wish list. You have to keep a budget of €50 in mind so it won't be too expensive. My cousin often puts extra joke items on her list that are obviously too expensive. Because of that, it became an unwritten rule that if you get her name, you have to get a joke present for her that's not included in the €50 budget. For example, she was often talking about flamingos one year. So we got her an inflatable flamingo. Or we gave her a large plush husky because she loves huskies. 2 years ago, she was looking for land to build a house. So my grandma gave her land. But it was literally dirt in a pot. She always loves the joke presents we give her and it always makes our Christmas Eve much funnier. When we need some time by ourselves we say, I'm going to do blank. Don't bother me. It's just our way of saying we need some alone time. Not just my family. But my whole state. No one takes the last portion of anything. You just take half and it gets progressively smaller like Zeno's paradox. When eating a meal together, we have a certain sitting arrangement. But when drinking a coffee, me and my mum switch seats. Same table. Different arrangement. No Monopoly allowed. We tried it for a few family game nights. It never ended well. My wife donated all Monopoly versions. When we have game night, whatever game we play, everyone must sit through a reading of the entire rule book and state that they understand the rules as they have been read. And any rule which has not been read shall not be included. House rules caused so many games to be all up. Especially Monopoly. So we don't use house rules anymore. And by reading the rules every time, no one can say they didn't know the rules. If you wake up early to go to the bathroom, and you feed the cat, you feed him by the front door so we all know he ate. Otherwise he'll scam the next person out of a second breakfast. And sometimes a third person. Christmas is a universal day of laziness. Nobody gets out of their pajamas or does anything that would require getting out of pajamas. We eat food that's been made the day before or snacky junk food, pizza pockets, mozzarella sticks, etc. Nobody goes anywhere. It's fantastic. When you cook a turkey, you have to give it a lemon boob job. Started a few years ago. When my mom saw it online and thought it was the funniest thing. She passed away a couple years ago. And as kids have been doing it ever since. As a child, if you repeatedly, you were sent to the bathroom. An understandable rule with basis in fact of what you probably needed to do if you were a lot. I never realized how funny it was until I was telling my husband about it and he lost it. If you don't like the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. Edit. Well, actually the rule here with just my wife and I is, if you don't like the way I'm doing it, and you are such a control freak that you can't learn to live with the way I'm doing it, then do it yourself. My mother-in-law must wash all plates before putting them in the dishwasher to be washed. And all garbage must be washed before being put in the garbage can. If you throw out something, like an empty jar of apple sauce with the lid on it, she will fish it out of the trash, wash it out, then put the lid back on and throw it away. No licking the dog. Never whistle when you're near the pond. This was at my old family home. We moved away from there nearly 30 years ago. Strange thing is, when I ask my parents about this rule they have no idea what I'm talking about. I very much remember it being sort of a big deal. Both my parents are gone. But, if we need confirmation that the other is not lying, we swear on their ashes. Not their actual ashes, those are buried. My nephews who are the 15th to the 25th of May try and lie, but once we pull out the ashes card, they cannot lie.